in a war or you don't go in at all, right?
Right.
There's no such thing as splitting the difference. Well, that's exactly what we did. So for an over-decade train wreck, we sent troops in, but didn't give them the mission clarity, didn't equip them the way that we should, put them in harm's way without ability to retaliate, or it was just awful in every imaginable way. We lost 58,000 lives in this conflict, and it took an awful long time to extract ourselves from the debacle. So what happened is the American people decided that they didn't want to be in this war. That's valid. Go get a CBS poster board, or march in front of the White House, or shout, or do what you want to do. You know, put daisies at the ends of rifles. Remember that from Forrest Gump? Those kind of things actually happen. Here's the problem. All that's okay. What's the problem? They start taking it out on American soldiers. I mean, yeah, totally. So here are these soldiers going over there and coming back, not to homecoming parades, but to being absolutely abused. Then shoved, spit on, slammed into walls, not served in restaurants. I mean, it just boggles the mind. And they went as draftees. Most of them weren't even volunteers. Oh, let's review. I die in your place and you spit on me. Ever heard of that before? It was like a little Jesus all over again. It just absolutely sickening the way that these soldiers were treated, and it just gets me all fired up. Sorry. It's my only, I'll tell them like a school group kids, I'm like, don't disrespect soldiers, period. That's it, boom, done. Just don't. Don't disrespect law enforcement, don't disrespect firefighters, and don't disrespect the military. Anyway, end of sermon. Okay, so this very, very controversial war, we're not winning, we're not losing, it's just a big, big mess. And at least now we're going to get out of there. We're going to bring them home. Okay. Now, I'm going to make something really graphic for you all. I hope this works. Pretend for a minute we're living in this era, which a lot of us were alive during this era. So let's do the mid-1960s, in which case I would have fringe on this purse that's about 2 feet long, and bell bottoms, and probably a halter top. Yeah. Don't picture that. Don't do it. You'll hurt yourself.
Can't unsee it.
Sorry, guys. Okay. Back to serious. All right. So we have an imaginary brother, make him imaginary, and he's fighting in this war, and eventually now he's going to come home. Okay, this is good. So now we know we're at least getting out of there. Now, you're not worried when the first groups of soldiers start rolling in, plane, trains, and automobiles in every city in America, and you're not that worried when he's not among the first batch. Certainly he'll be here with the next group around. But by now you're starting to get suspicious because it's been a while since you've heard anything. At this point, you would have reached out to his command, and you would have said, yeah, we're just trying to locate, when is he arriving, and what are you told? We don't know. Well, what do you mean you don't know? Where is he? And that's the chilling answer. Yeah, we don't know. He didn't show up for one of the roll calls, and we're not sure where he is. Okay, that feels chilling enough. So you're going to go to bed that first night with that bad, queasy feeling. Only that bad, queasy feeling is going to last for the next 40 years. Picture that. So there are families going to bed tonight that know they lost loved ones in this war, but have no idea. By now you have one question left. Did he die in pain? We can't help you with that. We have no idea. But now there's this teeny little silver lining. We have teams of scientists in Vietnam every year now, and they are exhuming bodies, and for the first time in history, we can do a match. Why? Because DNA is new? No, actually, DNA is not that new. What is new is database. DNA is just a piece of information. Until you have someone else that has a match, you can't complete the cycle. We can bring these families home and represent them to their families, and with the bodies, with the remains, very often comes a clue. It might not be good news, but at least it's something. And that is, we're sorry we found him on a landmine field. We found him in a concentration camp. That's the one that would give me no news. A plane crash site, etc.
Did they have prisoners of war?
They were mostly prisoners. Many of them were prisoners of war, and we know now in retrospect that the atrocities were just, you don't even want to think about it. I mean, it was just very, very bad stuff, and that's why we never heard about any of these people. When I was a teenager, we used to wear a little silver band, and it had the name of someone MIA, which means, and POW, which means, and we didn't know. We had no idea if they just disappeared on the battlefield or if they were tortured in concentration camp. No idea. Did they come back? They didn't. They just didn't. On this wall you're about to visit, you'll see 58,000 names. They start in the center section of the wall. Right here's the beginning, First names go in 1959. That's further back than most people realize. All the way back, 1959. They go all the way out. They pick up again at this wall, and they end in the center. 1975 are the last fatalities. That's a very long stretch of time. Next to every single name is one of three symbols. Most of the time, it's a diamond. Confirmed dead. 58,000 names when they first put this wall in. 57,000 of them confirmed dead, but a full 1,000 of them instead had this, a little cross that meant missing in action. Every year, the status of a few of those change, and instead of missing in action, we put a cross, we put a diamond shape on top of it for confirmed dead. We found their remains. So there's at least a little teeny small comfort. I said it was controversial, this wall. Why? Because in 1982, this was fairly modern art. Not everybody understands modern art. Okay, and so where are the faces? Where are the statues? So people didn't understand it. Nobody feels that way anymore, but in the beginning, that was an issue. So 2 years later, they added this statue group. These are the three soldiers, and here's my favorite silver lining on the Vietnam War. Legislation had been passed a decade prior to this war starting out that said you don't get to segregate the United States Army. Cut it out. But the legislation had never been enforced until finally the Vietnam era. So you're going to see African American on the far left, white guy in the middle, and Hispanic American symbolically saying we are one United States Armed Forces. We don't do that anymore. Okay, so there's at least that. Final thing on these three soldiers, in this war it became common to take off your dog tag and tie it on your boot. Guys, I know you know why. So you lose and you have a boot. You have an identification. And that's what the guy in the middle, the white guy that's in the middle, you can see if you look at his front right boot, he has actually a dog tag laced into his laces. Questions or comments? Yeah.
Something that I think a lot of people forget, there were soldiers that were exposed to Agent Orange. that
Oh,
are attached
thank you
to the
so much.
boys' law.
And very recently, I don't know how recently, but more recently than these statues, they have added a plaque finally. So right next to the three soldiers is a plaque that acknowledges what you just said. She said that people died after the war from the war. So although their names aren't on the wall, they should be. But how do you do that? So instead, they have a plaque to recognize the fact that because of Agent Orange and other elements, some people died from the war, but not during the duration of the war. That's a very good point. Thank you. We're going to let Scott bring up the rear. Scott? Right. When you see the red flag, don't go behind it. I'll keep walking. I'm going to walk through the memorial, and I'm going to end up over at the ladies' memorial before we do one more thing and then go find the bus. Thank you for your attention. Starting here.
Excellent. I'll bring up the rear.
Sculptor is Frederick Hart. He did such a phenomenal job. Whereas it looked cold in Korea, what do you think these guys are suffering? The heat's so bad that they're actually out of uniform. They needed to take their shirts off. Make sure you see the flag. Every year, an organization that respects and keeps, maintains this memorial they actually put 4 different patinas to give you this lifelike effect. It literally looks like they're sweating. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Oh, thank you for you guys can help me with stuff like that. You just said the guy in the middle is an officer. I never knew that. Yeah, I
Still have mine.
Oh, yeah. Front right boot. Right here, if you look at the laces, you see the tag? Yeah. Front right boot, dog tag, laced into his boot. If we lose his body, we still have the boot. We can identify.
See the dog tag.
Oh, you can also do this.
If you were looking up a name on this wall, you would use books that are up in front of us. It would tell you a panel number. It's an alphabetical daily roll call of the dead and missing, therefore virtually impossible to find a name on the wall.